Press the button, that works. Thank you. Nice. Okay. Good afternoon and welcome everyone to MTA headquarters. Today we're going to talk about a couple of very important issues, but I think what's really important, I think we all know why we are here today. We're here today because of the deterioration of the quality of service and the performance of the New York City subway system, and trying to put together a plan that will help stabilize and improve the system. So let me get right into the presentation. It's quite a long presentation, and get to an opportunity to be able to answer any questions that you all may have. I was about to start a little while ago before we had the mic problem to welcome Mayor Dinkins here, who is a member of our advisory group. I also want to welcome here Peter Calico, former chairman and CEO of the MTA as well, and there are other famous people here that I will introduce as we go on throughout this presentation. The New York City subway system, as you all know, serves 6 million customers on a daily basis. It's a system that is the only one that's open globally on a 24 hours a day, 7-day-a-week basis. It's a system that operates 24 different lines and has a total of 665 different miles of track. We have more track than any other subway system in the United States, including some of the largest systems like Boston and Chicago, Atlanta, LA, and Washington, D.C. The network includes 472 stations, which is more stations than any other subway system in the world. We also can't do it without many of our partners. We can't do this in a vacuum. We have numerous partners at the city level, the fire department, the police department. We also have the New York City Department of Transportation, EMS, which is a division of the fire department. We also have Con Ed, as well as others, New York City Sanitation, I forgot, but very critical in helping us keep the system clean. And then finally, the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey and the New York City DEP. This is all part of a network that's really important to make sure that the subway system stays up and running. So as I said before, we're here because the New York City subway system, no doubt, is in distress, and we're here and looking for solutions. For context, let me talk a little bit about where we've been and what's happened to the system. In 1981 alone, New York City subway system experienced almost 5,800 fires, had 21 collisions, and had almost 5,000 robberies. Today, those numbers are down 90% of what they were. And quite honestly, whatever's remaining is not necessary. I don't want to see track fires. I never, ever want to be here when there's a collision, and working very, very closely with the NYPD on robberies. There's no doubt that we are, as I said in the opening comments, we are failing our customers. When you look at the particular problems, we're having a record number of customers. We also have aging infrastructure combined with a lack of capital investment over the long haul. All together, combined together, you end up in a situation where these three issues alone are the reasons why the subway system is failing its customers. A little bit about the history. When we first started opening the subway system in 1905, we had ridership of 73 million. We have that ridership in a week now. Currently, the system is up to 1.75 billion people, about 6 million people a day. And what's driving that more than anything else is not just the growth of our population, but New York City is, without any doubt, seeing a huge increase and huge influx in tourism. We are the #1 tourist site in the United States, and when people come here from all over the world, all over the country and the world, they are on our subway system, and that's one of the reasons for the increased number of customers. Just going back one, I skipped one, but just so you know that during the last 10 years, we've seen a 15% increase in our growth of customers. And so overall, that is one part of what's going on with our system. It's being burdened by the number of people that we have on. And we have an aging infrastructure. The infrastructure itself, it's 113 years old. The average track was laid 41 years ago. 40% of the signal equipment is more than a half a century old. Much of it contains World War II era signaling and communications equipment. For me, that's totally unacceptable. In addition to that, the subway system, as we all know, and I've said this before, it's owned by the City of New York, and the requirements for the capital plan where they can veto it. But what's important is out through the 80s and into the 90s, the city and the state, we weren't properly funding either the capital plan or the operating budget and giving operating support. We saw a rise in the amount of fares going up for all of our riders. At the same time, we didn't see a whole lot of growth coming in from either the state or local government. Recently the state government has come to the table with a significant amount of investments, that yellow bar that's going up, showing what we need to do to modernize our very, very important system. What's important to also look at in the capital system in recent months, many issues have come to head all at once, and it's been exacerbated to a large extent as well by what's happened with Amtrak, and because of the number of people we've encouraged to go from the Long Island Railroad, not coming into Penn Station, and actually getting onto the subway system, and we've seen a tremendous burden overall with the system. As we all know, June 21st, about 30 days ago, the governor appointed me, or I could actually say I volunteered to become back to the MTA to help with the current situation. The governor also put together a state of emergency, which was important to cut through the red tape and speed the processes necessary so we can rapidly fix our subway system. In addition to that, he told me in no uncertain terms that I needed a 30-day plan to be able to fix this system to get it back on track, which is exactly what we're going to do. And over the last 4 weeks, the men and women of the Transit Authority, the MTA and the Transit Authority have come together. We have put together a top-to-bottom review and analysis so that we can transform the subway system to make sure that we do the changes necessary to deliver for all of our customers. In addition to that, we've put together an advisory board of experts who are going to help me and everyone at the Transit Authority in advising us on how to execute and as we go forward. Many of the members are here today, but let me highlight the members of our advisory group who are here. Mayor David Dinkins, who I mentioned, Kathy Wild, who is here in the front row, is president of the New York City Partnership. Dan Doctoroff, who is not here, former deputy mayor. Peter Calico, who is here, former chairman of the MTA. John Samuelson from the TWU, who is here, the president of the International now, president of the TWU. Other members, Dennis Rivera, formerly of 1199, Hector Figueroa, who's here, Sarah Feinberg, who is former administrator for the Federal Railroad Administration, Gene Rushinoff, who is someone who cares passionately about our subway system, is here in the front row, and then Mitchell Moss from the NYU Rudin School of Transportation and my colleague at NYU. Mitchell, thank you, and thank you all for being part of this advisory board. The action plan I'm going to lay out today is really going to have two parts. There's a short-term plan and a long-term plan. Today, we are going to focus on the short-term plan, and the overall goals are to stabilize the system, improve what we have now, and get it set and ready to become modernized. We've got to take this system and get it out of the late 19th century and get it into the 21st century as quickly as we possibly can. And to begin phase one immediately, we have to deliver, and we're going to deliver this all within a year. I'm reticent to say we're going to get it done within a year, because I want to get it personally done as quickly as possible. So whatever it takes to get it done, and in between, we're going to be giving you benchmarks to know how we are doing. As I said, it's to stabilize and improve the system and lay the foundation for modernizing it in the future. To stabilize it and to improve it, we're going to need to focus on one thing and one thing only, and that's the New York City subway customer. They are at the heart of our overall strategy. And what's critical to all of this is part of our goals is to improve the reliability and the capacity of the system. It's to enhance the stations and their safety of the stations, as well as the safety on the subway cars themselves. And then finally, we need to provide clear and accurate communications. And I'll go through each and every one of these areas. But what's important is how we take all of those goals and put it together in a strategy. It's a strategy that's going to target additional personnel and equipment focused on the critical components of the system that we've determined have the highest incidence of failure. Phase one is going to include 5 critical components. Each one of those components is going to be talking about how to enhance track and safety maintenance. How do we enhance car and improve car reliability? How we improve our system safety and our overall system's cleanliness? How do we enhance our communications? And how do we launch a new management group? These 5 areas are so critical and they're core to our strategy of being able to move forward and making a difference for all of our customers. Phase one, we're going to attack the key drivers. 79% of the major incidents that are causing the delays on our system. You can see in this pie chart 54% relate to signals, track, and power. That's at the core of what we have to fix. That's at the core of what we have to change. We also have to deal with water, car problems, related problems, dealing with fires on the system. It's not going to be, there's a way in which on the medical side, we're going to be able to work with any one of our customers who get sick on board, how to deal with them quickly, because there's a policy here. We don't move the person until an ambulance shows up, which delays the system tremendously, and we're going to go through an approach of how we can do that quicker. And then finally, dealing with our stations. That gray area is all of the other things that go on. People who want to get on the tracks are a significant portion of that. We need to find a way to rid that from happening as well. So let me address signals straight up in front. 30% of all of our incidents of delay are caused by signal issues. Those are the signals that I told are basically World War II era communication devices. 40% of our signal equipment is more than a half a century old, and the equipment is breaking down at an ever increasing rate. Over the last year, the number of major incidents due to signal failures has increased by almost 25%. To reduce the rate at which signal equipment is breaking down, we are creating dedicated teams to execute an expedited repair program that will fix 1,300 signals detected to be the most problematic by the end of 2018. And we have the technology to know exactly where to prioritize those in the busiest parts of the city. And so we've been able to isolate all throughout our system where are the hot spots for breakdowns. This is where we're going to deploy and redeploy our workforce so that we're able to deal with all of these signal-related problems. In addition to that, our entire system is dependent on a constant supply of power. Subways can't work without power. If you remember, after Sandy, we had no power south to 34th Street, and no system was able to go. No part of our system was able to go south to 34th Street. Well, there's 2 types of power that we need to run our subway system. One is direct power, which goes to the third rail, which moves the trains, and then there's low voltage power, which is what provides the lights as well as the power directly to the signal system. Anytime we have any interruption or any surges, it has an impact on our system. And over the last 12 months, these power issues have been caused tens of thousands of delays, and we're working very closely with Con Ed because power supply is a major problem. We don't control it, and later on this week, the Public Service Commission will be announcing a power improvement plan working with Con Ed, which will end up and resulting in a better situation for all of our customers. Now I'd like to address track maintenance. New York City is surrounded by water, and we have 420 miles of the New York City subway system is underground. And the root causes of more than 20% of our track-related incidents that cause delays are from water-related damage or from debris on the debris-related fires. What's important, and we've been able to isolate all throughout the system where there are water-related problems. And let me remind you of something some people in this room know and some people don't know. On a clear day, a sunny, beautiful day, we still take 13 million gallons of water out of the New York City subway system. And it's even more when it rains out. Every subway system in the world has this problem. Anyone who goes underground is going to have this problem. Talking to colleagues in Washington at WMATA or at the T up in Boston, they have these same problems. It's not unique to us. But one of the things that we can do is we're going to launch a water management initiative. And as part of this initiative, we're going to have special teams to go out to seal with chemical grouting as well as 40,000 street grates to ensure that we have the way in which water can be properly diverted, water can properly be disposed of. I actually believe this. The greatest enemy to having an efficient subway system is water, and anything that we can do to eliminate that water, prevent debris from clogging the drains, is going to go a long way to making sure that we don't have delays in the system. We're also going to clean the entire system. We do it on a frequent basis. We're going to do it even more. The New York Times today had a wonderful story about how we're sweeping the system with new equipment, and we're going to continue that. We're going to remove all the debris. We want to reduce any fire hazards and any problems that could happen with the water drains. And we're also accelerating the repair of track issues across the entire underground system. 31 specialized teams are going to be dispatched to expedite track repair all throughout the system, but we're going to target it in areas where we have the highest rate of incidents. And we have the ability to know exactly where that is, and this map that represents all of the boroughs that have the subway system, we're going to go to each and every one of those areas and be able to work with dealing with the track-related problems. Half of our tracks still use joints, rail joints, to hold them together. And these rail joints lead to increased wear and tear, and they're very less comfortable for riders. For those of you who want to know when you're on the subway, when you feel it jump up a little bit, that's because of the rail joint that's there. We need to get rid of that. Currently, to reduce the number of breakdowns, we're moving to a newer, seamless track. We're going to put it throughout the entire system. We already have it in 50% of the system underground. We want to get it throughout the entire system as quickly as possible. For us, it's very important to be able to do this, not only to have an uninterrupted ride, but as comfortable ride as possible. We're tripling the rate of installing our continuous welded rail and increasing track welding capacity by 30%. We're also going to be installing 50,000 friction pads over the next, this goes on the trains, friction pads over the next 16 months that will increase the resiliency of the rail and reduce incidents of impacting service, negatively impacting service. We're also going to triple the number of combined action teams, or CAT teams, and for those of you who know my experience with CATs, thank you for that comment, which are able to respond to the range of track, power, and signal issues without requiring any additional support. We're going to have these folks all throughout, not at the end of the system, not in the terminals, but we've got 12 different combined action teams across the entire system. And we're going to continually evaluate it. Are they in the right place? Are we putting them where we need them to be? Because what is so important is that right now it's taking about 45 minutes to get to any problem. We want to get that down to 15 minutes. We want to get the trains that are stuck due to these problems back and running again as quickly as possible. Improving car reliability. The New York City subway system, our fleet is on average 22 years old. 18% of it is actually more than 40 years old. 40% of car breakdowns, however, are due to door malfunctions. It's not due to the motor, the engine that's in it. It's not due to the wheels. It's really due to things, the pocket doors that go in and out. And I would encourage anybody like I do who takes the subway as frequently as I do, as frequently as anybody does, don't lean against the doors, don't bang the doors, and don't hold the doors open, because these are the things that impact the integrity of the doors and cause an enormous amount of delays in the system. And to rapidly improve our performance for our fleet, we're going to expand major overhaul capacity from 950 to 1,100 cars as quickly as we possibly can. Our repair shop is now open only for 2 shifts a day. We want it open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're going to add additional shift so that we can provide repairs and a maintenance for all of our cars as quickly as we possibly can. Our maintenance effort would also prioritize the inspection as well as repair of the doors above and beyond the existing protocols that we have. And this goes to the comments that I said before. Our goal is to inspect and repair every door as quickly as we possibly can, and I definitely want it done within the year, if not sooner. and to ensure faster response times and to make minor repairs on location instead of in our workshops, instead of at the end of the day when the trains aren't there, we're going to be adding 20 additional pre-positioned emergency subway car response teams at 12 different locations, supported by 5 different mobile repair trucks. They're going to be all throughout the system based on where we think they'll best be positioned to deal with any emergencies. So instead of dispatching from the farthest away place possible, we're going to try to be as close as possible to where the problems are happening. And to address the main issue, which is increasing the volume of passengers that we have on the train, we're going to increase the number of cars on trains wherever it's possible. Many of our trains, the length of our trains are as long as our shortest station. And so in those particular cases, we're not going to be able to add additional trains because we don't want trains that the doors can't open and people have to walk all the way through. That's only going to slow the entire system down. But there are some lines, the C line in particular, which have very long platforms that we are going to quickly start adding cars to the C line to be able to be adding capacity on the C line. We're also going to launch a pilot project, a pilot program to begin the process of removing the seats from some cars on some trains. Train cars are either 8, in length, or 10. Trains are either 8 cars in length or 10 cars in length. What they've done up in Boston is on some of the trains where they have had significant capacity issues, they've taken 1 or 2 of the cars, they've reconfigured the inside, they've taken out the seats, they changed the color of the outside of the car so people know that it's a standing-only car, to be able to get more people into the car. When you go to platforms that have lots of different passengers in the morning at 96th Street on the west side, any time of the day you want to get on the 4, 5, or 6 at Grand Central Terminal, the crowding is extraordinary. We need to find a way to get more people off the platform and into the subway cars. We're going to, as I said, it's going to be a pilot. We're not doing this citywide yet. We want to test it. We want to understand the best way to configure and reconfigure our cars. And we want to do it in conjunction with our oversight regulators in Washington, that we do it in the way we do it properly. We're going to use the shuttle on 42nd, that goes between Times Square and Grand Central Terminal, and we're going to look at the L line because the overcrowding on the L line has just been extraordinary with the growth that's going on in Brooklyn right now. It's very important to also understand this is not something we or anybody at the Transit Authority can do tomorrow or next week. You just can't go to Lowe's or Home Depot and buy the poles and buy all the material we need. But this is something we want to try, and we want to follow what other subway systems that have been experiencing a significant increase in riders been able to do to be able to serve their customers as well as they possibly can. And to improve the customer experience, we're going to also include other interior upgrades, and we're going to be doing this on a regular maintenance cycle basis. Various different things, replacing broken chairs, replacing anything, glass, everything, the windows that are there, so that we can enhance the experience overall. Public safety and cleanliness of the system. I've touched on this a little bit, but safety on the subway system is a very big priority for all of us. Law enforcement, I believe, is going to need to focus on enforcing the laws that affect our station operations as well as all of our customer safety. I will tell you that New York City Police Department does a phenomenal job in safety. Let me just get back to that. Safety overall on our customer safety. However, I want to call on the police department, Chief Fox and others, to start increasing the police presence, which they have been doing, into our stations, and start enforcing the law when it comes to litter. Illegal activities such as litter and harassing and sexually inappropriate behavior seems to be on an uptick in the system, and we need to bring it to an end. And I know, working with the police department, this is going to happen. Littering is a real problem. We saw the fire a couple of weeks ago. We've had 700, almost 700 related fire incidents every year, and it results in fewer than 80 violation of tickets a year for people who throw trash on the system. We need to change that. We need to really enforce the existing laws that exist already to make sure trash is not thrown into the system. As I said before, we're also going to start sweeping a lot more, so it's going to be a combination of both. Now, we're also launching a public awareness campaign to educate our customers on the consequences of littering. the fines that would happen from that, and how it ends up delaying all of their friends and neighbors by doing what they're doing in the system. Information materials are also going to be made available and posted all throughout the system to make sure that everybody understands how important it is to keep the subway system clean. Homelessness is also on the rise. We all know this. We'll work very closely with the NYPD, with other quality of life issues, so that we can, and one of the things that I want to do is to enhance the Transit Authority's outreach program, which it has with the Coalition for the Homeless, so that we can help the people who are most in need in this city. And when a customer becomes ill on the subway train, it effectively stops that train as the train staff is there, and they're required to remain with the passenger until help arrives. Over the year, sick passengers have caused over the last year, sick passengers have caused a little over 34,000 train delays. We've got to find a way to reduce this, if not eliminate it. So what we've, help's got to arrive sooner. We started this a few weeks ago. We launched a pilot program where we are pre-positioning EMTs, emergency medical technicians, on the A, the C, and the E lines who are experienced in dealing. These are the lines that have about 30 incidents a month, the highest number overall, and they're ending up with totaling, delays of upwards of 6 hours. We are pre-positioning them. It's a pilot program. I expect to double this number over the next couple of weeks, because I think it's really important that we be able to get our trains moving on time, and for anyone who's on the subway system who becomes ill, we're able to deal with them as quickly and as efficiently as possible. We're also going to work with the fire department and EMS on not just increasing its presence, but understanding pre-positioning teams as they do now, and working with the NYPD, the MTA, as well as the FDNY, so that we can have the best joint coverage of the system possible. We work very, very closely with the fire department now on this issue. This is something, as I said, we've already started in the last couple of weeks overall. The pre-positioning of the EMT teams are on this following page, which shows the various different maps all throughout the boroughs in which the subway system is located, pre-positioning them in the areas where it seems to be we're having the most number of sick patients. We're also, instead of necessarily stopping at the very next station, we are going to get to that station that has an EMT so that the patient who's sick can be dealt with as quickly as possible. Additionally, we're going to transform our customer experience with heavy-duty cleaning. Cleaning, we're going to increase it by 30%, and we're going to go from every 6 weeks to every 4 weeks. I want the system as clean as possible. I don't want to wait till Fast Track comes into the station to be able to clean it. I want to be able to get it up and running and as cleaning as quickly as possible. And we're going to launch a station program to repaint it, to repair the tile, to service elevators and escalators. Believe me, working very, very closely with the TWU, we're trying new ways to get the elevators and escalators fixed quickly and training them in a different way on how to do it. I live in a place where I have to get to the Clark Street station. I can't get down to the track without going down one of the elevators. It's 5 stories down. This is personal to me. I want the elevators in a state of great repair, and the ability of all of our workers to know how to repair them when and if they break down. Customer communications. Customer communications, quite honestly, we're not doing an effective job. We're not doing a good job at all on a timely basis, a reliable basis, in informing our customers for what they deserve. And what they deserve is information not only while they're on the subway or while they're on the platform, but while they're at home or while they're in their office or while they're on their way to the station. We need to transform the communication information. So we're revising our communication protocols. We're getting more information to people on the subway trains coming directly from our control center in Midtown Manhattan, telling everyone exactly, if you're in a delayed train, what is going on. I'd like to see the recorded announcements about train traffic as well as police action to stop. Let's tell the people they deserve to know exactly what's causing the delay instead of words, pre-recorded words, which quite honestly, up until a few weeks ago when I was a regular passenger, I thought didn't make sense. I know even more so today, it doesn't make sense with having these recorded announcements. We want to provide clearer, more timely information to our customers, and we want to provide better information about the work we're doing in the system. For example, Those of you who know what Fast Track is a program where we shut down certain portions of lines at night from 11 o'clock at night till 5 o'clock in the morning. We do a lot of intensive work goes on there, both on the track, on the signals, on the cleanliness, on lots of things down in the stations. And in the process of doing that, we put up these nice posters, we announce it, we put ads in the newspapers announcing that these lines are going to be impacted in the evening for a week, and we give alternative ways in which our customers can get to and from home or work when this is happening. One of the things we don't tell them is what we're doing down there. We're now going to tell everybody what we're doing down there. We had 1,000 workers in the system last night, but no one knows what they were doing. We know what they were doing. We need to tell the public exactly what they're doing in the system, what they're doing about the signals, what they're doing about the rails. It's important that we expand our communication and start talking about everything that we are doing down there. We're also going to overhaul our digital communication assets across the board. We have lots of ways in which we can stay in touch with folks. We have an app that most people don't know about called Subway Time. That app is available for everyone to know. On many of the lines, those who have countdown clocks, you don't have to go down to the platform to know when the next train is coming. You can actually get it on your iPhone. You can get it there. And as well, new integrated apps will be developed all throughout this year. We provide, and have been for the last 5 years, all of our available data about where our trains are through an open protocol basis with providing them for app developers so that they can integrate all of this information and keep them up to date, because we shouldn't be in the app development business. We should be providing the data to the people who make the apps. And quite honestly, there are numerous app developers out there. I'm not going to highlight all of them, but I'm going to highlight one. For those of you who don't know, Google has taken our on-time information. They've put it onto their Google Maps system. You can put in the address here. You can put the address in your office. And it'll be able to tell you when the next train is coming, how to walk there, what's the fastest way. If you want to take an alternative route, you can push on the numbered line that you want to go on, and it in turn will tell you if you can't make the next train that's going to be there in 3 minutes, the next one after that's going to be 4 minutes later. It's there already, and a lot of people don't know about it. We've got to do a lot better job here at the Transit Authority, here at the MTA, about how we market, how we tell the public what's available and what's out there. We're also going to be placing MTA customer representatives at high-traffic stations to provide guidance to our customers during this summer of the LIR problems that we've been having due to Amtrak-related issues at Penn Station. We have found customer service representatives pre-positioned in certain locations to be invaluable to helping our customers know what's going on in the system and where to go if there's any situation. We want to accelerate our system-wide installation of countdown clocks. They will be done by the end of this year. We want to roll out clearer signage for planned service outages, just like I said we're going to do with Fast Track. And then finally, we're going to retrain our staff to improve our communication with all of our customers. We're going to try to tell you exactly what's going on. And we've had numerous situations in the last couple of weeks where we've started to change our communication, where communication is coming directly from the control center, directly to any train that may be stuck in a tunnel, and explaining to them what's happening and how quickly we'll be able to move. And it's been working quite successfully. We want to expand that throughout the system. We're also going to launch a critical management group. One of the things that we found during this LIR situation this summer is that, we've been able to determine that the siloed-based decision-making that has been world-renowned at the MTA needs to come to an end. We need to stop it. We need to have faster, more quicker decision-makings. We're going to establish an MTA-wide emergency operations center. We've started one here. We call it the War Room for this summer. I don't want to call it a War Room forever. So we're going to call it an Emergency Operations Center, where everybody's going to be pre-positioned to know whenever we have a problem anywhere in the system, not just on the subways or our buses, Long Island Railroad, Metro North, including the Triborough Bridge and Tunnel Authority, anyone, will be able to come together and communicate with everyone in a very succinct way and be in all in one location. We will do that, and we will locate it right here in the headquarters and create an Emergency Management Operations Center. We've also asked the PSC, which I mentioned will be announced later this week, to add power utility representative to be part of our emergency management group as well. We're also going to empower our staff with initiatives and to invest in training all across on change management and all across of our disciplines. I think it's really important for what we need to do here at the MTA and specifically at the Transit Authority that we start helping with professional development for everyone in the system. I will work with the unions, I will work with management to make sure that we have the proper training that goes on. And we're going to execute major capital improvements on time and on budget. I'm not doing that. On time or on budget. We're going to streamline the procurement process and transform how we actually have been doing business. Measuring performance. I mentioned this early on when I took the job. We need to start monitoring our progress and hold all of us, hold me accountable. We're going to be launching a public dashboard. Just like ComStat, the dashboard is going to measure categories important to us for our customers, including reliability, safety, and customer experience. Very critical that this information be put up as almost on a daily basis so we know exactly how we're doing, how performance is going. Look, total phase one of this plan to modernize it and everything else is going to take 30 separate tangible actions in all of the 5 areas that I discussed. I will make available to everyone as they leave here each and every one of these 30 actions. I'm not going to go through each one today. I'm already losing my voice. But rest assured, these are the things that I'm going to measure everything by and where I expect the public to measure us by so that we can enhance the service, a better service providing for everyone. In short, this entire 30-day exercise that we've gone through, we're recommending redeploying 2,700 additional personnel and specialized, as well as specialized equipment dedicated to repairing the critical components, improving our stations, increasing public safety, and delivering on a timely, more timely and effective communications. In order to stabilize the system, our current estimate is that it's going to cost about $456 million in operating costs. It's going to also require one-time cost in capital of about $380 million. During the next year, we're going to aggressively monitor how we're progressing, what makes sense, what efficiencies we need to make. My experience as a budget director in the city of New York, and having been here once before, there are ways in which we can provide savings for this. However, our need in the first year is when we're going to need help from our partners. Now, when you look at the areas in which we can gain additional income to be able to do this, there's a Triborough Bridge and Tunnel Authority. It's not available to us. There's the city, there's the state, there's the federal government. The likelihood of getting anything out of the federal government lately is -0. And then finally, there's customer affairs. That's not going to happen. No one wants to put this burden on any customers whatsoever. They've been burdened already, so it just leaves it down to the city and the state. And it's been my recommendation, as I mentioned earlier today to the first deputy mayor, that I'm going to recommend that New York City and New York State split the cost. I've discussed this with the governor. I know I have his commitment. We'll work with City Hall, and we'll try to come to a proper conclusion. The reason why is this is on behalf of the people in the city of New York. We need to come together to be partners in this. More than anything else, we need to be partners. Phase 2, which I'll just talk about briefly, is going to be the modernization of the system. Once we get the system stabilized, once we get the system back moving again, we're going to need to start focusing on what we find out from the challenge, the genius challenge that happened, and address the systemic and system-wide improvements that we need to have. New signal systems, modern signal systems. Believe me, the modern signal system that we're putting in right now on the number 7 line that'll open up next year, early next year, we think it's a modern system, but it's been around for almost 3 decades. We believe that there are systems out there that are being developed that will be able to use Wi-Fi and wireless approach, which we think will be faster to put in, but they're going to be quite expensive. We need new subway cars. We're about to release we're in the middle of an RFP process right now for new subway cars that'll be open gangways all the way through, and we have a model of what one looks like that we'll be showing the public over the next month. And then finally, modern communication technology and the signaling and all the things that we need to do overall to make the system better. Bottom line, we're going to need new cars. If we want to take our system and make it 21st century, we're going to need new cars. We're going to need a modern signal system. It's going to be the heart of our next capital plan, not the capital plan we're in now, but we're going to start planning for it today to be able to move forward so that we can get all of these things. This number scares me, but this is what I think the next 5-year capital program is going to look like, close to $8 billion. And quite honestly, as I said, this is not now. This is after we get the system fixed and up and running overall. So, we'll know more when we get the results of the Genius competition, which will be happening over the next 60 days, so that we can expedite the process of purchasing cars, repairing them, and then trying to determine what our new signal system will look like. Let me wrap up with talking a little bit about our workers for a second. Our workers, just like management, have been affected by the press that's been out there. But I know what the men and women of the New York City Transit Authority are made of, and I've seen them in the worst of times. I saw what they did for the city of New York immediately after Sandy. In the darkest time in our region, it was the men and women of the New York City Transit Authority that got the subway system back up and running faster than anyone ever thought they possibly could. It's these same men and women that I'm going to work with management here, to make sure that we get this system back on track and get it everything we possibly can to deliver to our customers to get the service they deserve and the service that they want. I want to thank everybody for coming today, and I'm looking forward to answering any and all of your questions. Thank you. We have John.
Hello? Hello?
Mr. Joe Loda, my question is this.
Hey, Marcia.
Sure. Can you hear me now?
No, I can't. It's not on.
Hello? Hello?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you no matter what.
So here's the question. You have now, basically, if there's a problem in New York City that a subway rider has, you have a solution for this. You have a million solutions. The question is, will you be able to deliver, and what is your promise to the subway rider about your ability to deliver this wide array of promises and programs and money and even maybe the participation of the mayor?
So Marcia, in answer to the core of your question, hold me accountable for everything that I've talked about today, because I do believe that the responsibility begins here and ends here with everyone at the MTA and everyone at the Transit Authority. What's important to understand is that when you look at the statistics over time on delays, on fires, on everything that we put out monthly at each and every one of our board meetings, for years they were going down and down and down. And then this year we started to see a slight hockey puck coming up, a hockey stick coming up. That's got to end. I want to see the continuation of the decline, get back on that trajectory going down, as well as changing the overall narrative of what's going on in the public about our system. I want it cleaner. I want it faster. I want it moving in the right direction. If there are things I left out, I'll let the public tell me that. But the bottom line on this whole thing is I put this out there, hold me accountable. Okay.
Right into the mic. All right. All right, so a bunch of us were on the subway on Sunday with Mayor Bill de Blasio, who said to the MTA, read my lips. They have the money, they're not spending it correctly. You just mentioned that you're going to reach out to the city and ask for maybe a partnership to work to try to get money. How are you going to do this if Mayor de Blasio is saying, you got the money, we're not giving you anything? And then to follow up with that, when is the first time you're actually going to put shovels to the ground and you're actually going to begin this work?
So I'll answer the second part first because it's a little easier. We've already started. We've already started to expand our maintenance system, and we're going to start doing even more. We have to hire people, in addition to the people we have already, who are working on overtime. I will be able to put out information about number of people who are down working on the tracks, working on the signals, so that you're aware of it. We didn't need to wait for today to begin to do the things that we need to do. Look, regarding the mayor, I have tremendous respect for the mayor and his entire team. I will work with him closely. I will do everything I can to convince him that this is the right thing to do for the people of the city of New York. I read what he said in the papers, and if there are any specific areas that he thinks we're being inefficient, I'm all ears. I have been known over my entire life to try to find efficiencies wherever I can and make it better. It's what I do. It's what I want to continue to do. And if there's something I'm missing, I'm more than happy to listen and more than happy to implement. So, my overall desire is to work with the mayor and to convince the mayor and his staff how important this is for his constituents.
Hi, Joe. Just wondering, how many people do you expect the MTA will have to hire to get all of these projects done? And also, are there going to be any layoffs to get rid of any inefficiencies like in HQ or any other areas?
So we're down significantly headcount in HQ. We've had a what I call a brain drain. People who've worked here are down running WMATA, have gone up to the Boston T, the MBTA, and so our headcount is down. That's happened through natural attrition. This plan does not include any layoffs at all, but it does include hiring up. The presentation we were showing there, about 2,400 people. It's not going to happen immediately. It's going to happen over time. If you looked at charts that we provide to our board of our headcount, I need to bring it back to where we were in about 2010, 2011. Let me describe to everybody what really happened in the system, because I think it's really an important thing. There was a fiscal crisis in the late 2007, 2008. The mortgage market crashed. There was a significant reduction in state revenues. There was a significant reduction in city revenues. Obviously, there was a significant reduction at the MTA as well. And when that happened, a lot of evasive action was taken. We know there was a reduction in our workforce. We know that to save money, there was no hiring going on. We know that there was an extension of maintenance intervals, meaning longer period of time. Instead of looking at something every 3 months, we were looking at it every 6 months. Those were the things that were necessary to happen. We also reduced the number of bus routes in the city. If you recall, we did that, and as well as increasing headway. A couple of years later, we put back most of the buses. We rearranged some that as well to make them more efficient. But as well as we did nothing about the head times, we did nothing about the maintenance and extending it, and this has come home to haunt us. The fact that we extended maintenance out, as we've come home over the last 7 years, it's had a tremendous problem in hurting us. John Samuelson was interviewed by, I think, one of the newspapers, and it was in the paper this past weekend, talking about what's happened in our maintenance effort area. And he was absolutely right. We have to do more. We have to do it more frequently, and we're going to need to do it with more workforce.
And since those cuts, there was obviously a noticeable reduction in the number of trains that you see going through your station. What is going to be done to, one, just bring back the level of service you had, running trains per hour as you did before the Great Recession? And anything you want to say specifically about how to just improve the speed of the ride, which has just been noticeably sluggish as the years have gone by?
So, we have the same number of trains that we had. We run about 5,600 trains every single day. Dan, I'll look at what you were talking about. My numbers that I'm looking at don't jive with your numbers, but I want to look at what we are seeing is that there are more and more crowding and off-peak times. It's for lots of reasons. People have different work schedules. More and more people are on the system at different times of the day. The L train is a perfect example. Who would have ever expected a train at 1 o'clock in the morning to be packed with people? But it is. So part of the system is we've been rearranging the trains, a set number of trains, to be in a system at different times of the day instead of focusing all on the rush hour where our focus has been. So I will look at that. There was a second portion of your question. Dana should be after this next question. Talk to the head of Subways. I have talked to the head of Subways about that, and we're looking at our protocols right now to see if we can reduce our headways on some of our lines where they seem to have been expanding ever so slightly within that protocol. Yes, sir. I'll get you in a second. Dana, nice to see you.
So do you think that your sort of earlier argument, one in which you echoed the governor's contention that the subway was actually the city's responsibility, do you think that will in any way make the mayor less willing to cooperate with you on this? And secondly, can this plan move forward without city funding?
So let me address two particular points. I never said the city was responsible. Go back and look at everything that I said. The city is not responsible. The city owns the system. They've given it to us to run. I'm here to run the system as efficiently and as effectively as possible. I'm going to go to my partners at the state and go to my partners at the city and ask them to help fund the first year. I will do my very best to find efficiencies and revenues necessary to go out into the future years in doing that. It's as simple as that. So the commentary that I heard was, as I said at the beginning when I stood in this room, I said, this is nothing more than a history lesson, and that's all it was. Because there are people who believe that the MTA does not own the system. The assets belong to the city. There's nothing untoward in saying anything like that. It's just a recitation of fact. I'm absolutely convinced we can move forward. I'm not going to say whether or not I can or can't do the funding. We need to get the funding somehow. I have the commitment of the governor for splitting half of it. I want to work with the mayor to see if I can get the other half. If not, I'll be on my way to Albany to deal with the legislature. But I really want to work with our partners at the city to be able to see if we can solve this.
Chairman, can you go into a little bit of detail of who you spoke with to gain information in crafting this plan? I mean, you're asking for the state and the city to bring money to the table. Were they at all involved, reps from the governor's office or reps from the city, the mayor's office, in terms of contributing to this plan?
So the contributions to this plan mostly came from Ronnie Hakem, who's sitting in the front row, Winton is the head of subways. Most of the bulk of the work was done and gathered by them to provide me with information. I did not use resources from the city of New York. At the very end, I did, as I said, I briefed the first deputy mayor a couple of hours ago. Yesterday, I talked to one of our board members from the city. I actually talked to all of them, but more in detail with one about the direction that I was going in. The governor's office provided help on the PowerPoint presentation, but not the form, not the substance of the presentation, because we're able to use their resources. They tend to do PowerPoints better than we do, and so we took advantage of that. But no, this is our work product. Henry. I'm fine. Let's debate.
Now we're going to be very friendly today. Let me ask you this. Do you intend to hire or contract with private companies who can do certain tasks like cleaning track or cleaning stations or providing other amenities and services in the system?
Not right now. We're not. But we are looking at using, obviously, as we always do in the capital program, some of the sensitivity of what we have as far as our contracts with our unions. The ability to do that would only cause harm. I need to work with each and every one of the people in the workforce at this time to get this system stabilized, to get this system to start to improve. The last thing in the world I want is any kind of labor disruption at all. So, I understand the point of your question. But what I think is I need to get this job done. I need to get this job done now, and I'm going to do it with the resources that I have.
Joe, this side of the room has some questions.
Hi, Emma.
Hello. So what would you tell riders about when they can start seeing an improvement on the system? And if the city won't contribute more to the plan, is it possible that you could raise fares?
Raising fares is not an option. There's been this policy going on now for almost 10 years that we raise fares every other year. But I don't think that's that's not an option that I want to entertain at all. Riders should start, it's going to be interesting. Some riders see things differently, so it's my hope and expectation that they start to see a difference relatively quickly. You know, when I talk about, you know, when you look at the fact that all rail systems at some point or another, or here or anywhere in the world, have different issues. It's a mechanical system. Things happen. But what I want is our ability to communicate to be better. I want the breakdowns to be less. I want the delays to be significantly less. And I'm going to have to show it on the dashboard. I'm going to have to show the numbers so that people see it. Look, if you go to work every day and you're never delayed because you leave at a certain time of the day and the train is empty, you may be wondering what this is all about. If you go at a time of the day when there crowding is more and more, this is very personal to you. So different people are going to have different reactions to the subway. My job is to communicate what we're doing so people know that there are workers in the system and what we're fixing and what we're cleaning, and then what they're doing to help us in the process, our customers.
Hi, Chairman. Cooperation and information sounds good. When could we expect to see the dashboard? When could we access that? And do you think that you need to be getting us ready, riders ready, for long-term shutdowns or really intensive work, especially given that a lot of this is going to be relying on what comes out of the Genius competition?
Right.
That's the fix. So what should we be ready for?
So I'll answer the second question first. I'd like to see an expansion of the fast track program. All boroughs, you know, multiple fast tracks going on in different boroughs so that they're not impacting each other. Those are shutdowns, for those who don't know. Fast track, 11 o'clock at night to 5 o'clock in the morning. A lot of intensive work is done in a large stretch of the system. I'd like to see that. I don't expect to shut whole systems down at this point. I don't see any reason for that. We obviously have a situation coming up with the L train where the tunnel needs to be repaired due to the deterioration that's happened because of the salt water that went in there in Sandy. That'll happen in about probably 18 months from now. We're in the process of working with the communities and working with the city on the impact that it's going to have on traffic. I expect to have some form of a dashboard up and running probably within the month to 6 weeks. I have a beta form of what it looks like now. I'm not ready to go public with it yet. We have the data. We have the information. When you, Greg, know this. You've seen all of our books, the amount of information that we give to our board members. It's actually too much. We need to be able to collapse it down into something, you know, very concise so that the public will be able to deal with it.
Hi, Chairman. Slightly off topic, although you mentioned the work at Penn Station. I want to ask you a bit about that. I just want to get your take. Week 3 now of Summer of Hell. Amtrak just gave some reporters a tour of Penn Station Central Control, and an executive there says that by his estimation, the work is already about 50% done, ahead of schedule. Do you see it that way, and are you impressed by how well it's been going?
So let me knock on wood first on what we've been experiencing with the Long Island Railroad, the subway system, the ferries we've put together, and the buses. We, as you said, we're now in the second day of week 3, and the coordination and the effort and the communication that we have with the public has worked very, very well. One of the reasons why I said we want to continue the management structure, the war room or the emergency operations center, is that it's worked really well. And I've gotten so used to 6:30 phone calls in the morning and 10:30 phone calls at night to understand what exactly is going on. Again, I feel very, very lucky. I have not had an opportunity to go down to Penn Station to see the work that's being done. The number that you threw out at me is the first time I've heard that they may be 50% ahead of schedule. Hard for me to imagine how that's possible, but if it's true, it's great. Being on time or a little bit ahead of schedule is absolutely the right position for them to be in right now. The thing that was indicative, I think, of their commitment to do things, they were supposed to start on a Monday. They actually started 2 days prior on a Saturday, knowing full well that there may be problems along the way. I think that was indicative of their commitment to get the job done. Remember, the job done is needs to be done by September 1. It doesn't end the work that they need to do there. They will continue to do work on the weekends like they're doing now. We've seen no reduction and no expected reduction from the weekend work that they're doing. It's just during the day, during the peak hours of the morning and the evening, where we have seen the reduction.
Hey, Joe. Going back to the L train closure you mentioned before, I just want to know if this plan has any implications for the Canarsie tunnel work, or how that kind of factors into the larger plan.
It does not have any implications to that plan at all. The Canarsie line, the work that needs to be done there is, as I've just said a little while ago, the deterioration of the tunnel due to the salt water that was through the tunnel is starting to eat away at the walls, and we need to go in there and repair that. And that is the reason why. It is wholly distinct. Now, we've done this to the Montague Street Tunnel, the Cranberry. There are various different tunnels between Manhattan and Brooklyn that we've been shutting down over a period of time. This is just the very next one in the process. One more question, and then Dana, or the back, I'm sorry.
Hi. Excuse me. I heard you talking about power issues, and I heard Westchester County Executive Rob Astorino last night talking about the closing of the nuclear power plant and the potential for maybe half the power coming from other sources. It's not something you can necessarily answer, but something that has to be looked out for. With the tremendous usage of energy by the MTA, something has to be looked at, maybe even to keep this nuclear power plant going.
I will look into that, and I thank you for saying it's not an issue that I'm fully, I'm aware of it from being a member of the public that reads the newspapers. We should all be concerned about our power and our source of power. I know there are alternatives and hydropower coming down from Niagara Falls and Quebec that we'll be able to access that we're not accessing now. But yes, as the MTA is a major user of power, we are concerned, and we will work with Con Ed and the PSC on the future of power here in New York. I want to thank everybody. Call me. Talk to you later. Thank you.